Okay, so today we're going over solving proportions. A proportion is when you have a fraction equal to or equivalent to another fraction, or really a ratio that is equivalent to another ratio. A ratio is just a fraction, a certain kind of fraction. So on the left-hand side, we have examples that is not a proportion. And over here we have proportions. So notice we have a ratio or a fraction equal to another fraction, a fraction equal to another fraction, fraction equal to another fraction. So we have a fraction equal to a fraction, or what we say is a ratio equal to another ratio, or equivalent. Over here, notice we do not have just a fraction. So this is not a proportion. We don't have just one fraction. And here we don't have a fraction, though we could make that into a proportion by putting it over 1, and then we would have a proportion. So first of all, once you recognize that you have a proportion, then the technique, or one of many techniques to solving a proportion, is to use what we call the cross-multiplying method or cross-product method. So basically you're just multiplying the two, you're multiplying the numerator and denominator on each side, and then you're multiplying the numerator and denominator on this side, right? So 4 times 3 is 12x, and then 2x times -1 is -2x, and then to distribute a property. So let's do a couple problems using the cross product. Okay, so it doesn't matter which side you put things on. So basically we're going to be multiplying n times 6, and then we're going to be multiplying -2 times -9. So by doing that, we get 6n on one side, right? When we multiply these two. And then -2 times -9 is +18 when you multiply these two. And it doesn't matter if you put the 18 first and then the 6n second. It doesn't matter which side you put which. And then you finish solving. So now we can undo, since we have all the variables on one side, we can undo multiplication by dividing both sides by 6. And that gives us n equals 6 times 3. That gives us n equals 3. On number 2, we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply 8x times 8. And we're going to multiply -6 times 2x. It doesn't matter which side you put things on. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply these two first. Just to emphasize, it doesn't matter. So when you multiply those, that gives you -12x's, and then equals. And then when we multiply 8 times x, or x times 8, we don't write x times 8, we write 8x, right? So we write 8x. And then notice we have variables on both sides. So we cannot have variables on both sides. So we have variables on both sides. We need to get rid of one of those variables. So we're going to undo, say, 8x by subtracting 8x's, because we need to get all the variables on one side. And that leaves me -20x on this side. And 8x and -8x is no x's, and we have no terms on that side. We have no x's, no constants, we have nothing. So you have to say you have nothing. And then we can undo multiplying by -20 by dividing by -20. And don't forget, I want to see that work. And that gives you x equals 0, right? Because any number, 0 divided by any number, is always 0. So you get x equals 0. Okay, third example. So we're going to move this over. Erase, erase, erase. So let's look at example number 3. There we go. So we're going to multiply, cross-multiply, or cross products, cross-multiply. We're going to multiply these two together. And we're going to multiply these two together. So when you have two terms, it's probably smart to emphasize that you have to multiply -4 times both of those. So we're going to say -4 has to be multiplied to n minus 2 on one side. So we're going to multiply and emphasize it's -4 times both of those. And then we have to multiply 5 times -3, and that would give us -15. So that should be your first line. It doesn't matter which side you put which. You could put this side, you could put this on the left-hand side and the other one on the right. Doesn't matter. And then you guys know how to solve from here, right? Be careful. We're still seeing some people making some sign errors, so be careful with that. Negative 4 times n is negative 4n, but a negative, right? A negative times a negative is a positive, and I'm still seeing people making those sign errors. All right, so watch out for distributing sign errors. And then we have all our variables on one side. So I want to undo the adding 8 by subtracting 8 to both sides. All right, that's 0, leaves you negative 4n. That's negative 23. And then we can undo multiplying because now we have all our variables on one side and the constants on the other. So we can undo multiplying by negative 4 by dividing. And that gives us n equals, and then a negative divided by negative is a positive 23/4, because 4 times 6 is 24. So that's not going to come out to be an integer answer. It's going to be a fractional answer. And don't forget to watch your signs. One more to go. Erase, erase, erase. Don't forget you can stop the video and you can try the next problem yourself, right? So stop the video. You can even pause it and go back and rewrite this problem down and then try it and then rewind and see if you're doing it right and see if you can do it all on your own. So you can copy that problem down, number 3 even, go back and retry number 3. So here's number 4. So you can pause it and try it on your own. So we are going to cross multiply because this is a proportion. So we're going to multiply those two and then we're going to multiply these two. And so it's probably a good idea to emphasize we're going to multiply negative 6 times both of these, and we're going to multiply 5 times both of those, right? So I guess I'll start with this side first. I'm going to multiply negative 6 times n plus 1 equals, and then I'm going to multiply these two, so it'd be 5 times the quantity, we call that, 4n minus 1. So the quantity means we're talking about a parentheses. And now we have to distribute and we have to watch our distributing error, sign errors. So this gives us negative 6 times n and negative 6 times 1. And then we're going to do 5 times 4n and 5 times negative 1. So you can pause the tape, try it yourself, and then see if you're getting the right answer. See if you're making any sign errors. Negative times a positive is a negative. 5 times 4n is 20 n's, and 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So are you watching for your signs? So you're watching your sign errors. A negative times a positive is a negative. So watch those sign errors. And now I have variables on both sides. So I want to undo. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. There isn't one way. There's multiple ways. So you might have done something slightly different. But I'm going to choose to undo the 20n by subtracting 20n. So I can get all the n's on one side. So that gives me negative 26 n's. And I still have a minus 6. I don't have any more n's on this side anymore. But just have the constant negative 5. Then I can undo the negative 6 by adding 6 to both sides. And that gives me, right, that's 0. So that gives me negative 26n equals positive 1. Watch your integer sign errors. And then I can undo multiplying by negative 26 by dividing by negative 26. And that gives me n equals, and a negative divided by positive is a negative, and that's just 1 over 26. Be careful, you might have thought it was 26 divided by 1, which is 26, but 1 divided by 26 is just 1/26. Like you have 26 slices of pizza, or the pizza's cut up into 26 slices. You're only eating one of those slices, so you're barely having anything. You haven't even had a whole pizza yet. There you go. Solving proportions by using the cross multiplying technique.